waiting. We gotta go. I'll get my car.
What time?
Yours. I gotta get me one of those.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bat Dan's Discussions. I just got back from vacation. Well, I got back on Sunday, so maybe not just got back, but my first stream back from vacation at Universal. I had a great time, except for finding out a bit of news while on vacation. I'm going to tell that story. I'm going to tell that story. So, TheCurlyRay and I came on saying, nope, Paramount's not going to get this. Netflix has this. This is in the bag. We were so sure before I left. So it only seemed right that we come on and, kind of talk about this little update. So, what up, TheCurlyRay?
Hey, what's up, everyone? How you doing?
This is not great news. What I mean, I'm sorry, I shouldn't spoil it just yet, but this is definitely shocking news. I think we can all agree on, at least.
Oh yeah, man. To be honest with you, I was very shocked when I saw this whole thing happen.
Oh, yep. Same here. What up, J-Mar? That's funny guitar. Yeah, you sound like a certain little Gunny poo. Hey, Bishop.
Hey, what's up, Guitar?
Hello, the Prime.
What's up, Bishop? What's up, Prime? What's up, J-Mar?
So, yeah, let's just, I'm kind of ready to just get started. But before we do, I have to remind people now. One Punch Man movie. It comes out this month. Okay, this month on Pi Day. The Zod writers put a lot of work into this movie. I'm really excited to see it. I have the link to the premiere in the description. I'm going to be putting that in the description from now until the movie comes out and a certain amount of time afterwards. We'll see. But One Punch Man coming out. Really excited. You excited, TheCurlyRay?
Yeah, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I really can't wait to see what Zod writers have been cooking up.
Neither can I. But hopefully that loser, just Josh, hopefully that character gets a horrible, painful death in the movie. Which, for those of you who don't know, Josh Herrera and I have a little playful rivalry with this. But it's going to be great. Check it out. And AI is really, really becoming a thing right now, though, too. If you think about it, because... So did you hear about this little news, TheCurlyRay?
Yes, I sure did.
Yep, so for those of you who don't know, here we are. Let me share this right here. Get rid of this awful ad. And then, okay. Netflix acquires AI filmmaking startup founded by Ben Affleck, who will serve as advisor to the streamer. So that's really cool. In a rare acquisition, Netflix has bought Interpositive, a startup founded by Ben Affleck that makes AI-powered tools for filmmakers. Not being disclosed, but here's what I really like. Saw it as Affleck's Interpositive as providing a unique set of AI tools that keeps filmmakers at the center of the process. Netflix will offer access to Interpositive's tech to its creative partners and does not have plans to sell it commercially in the marketplace. And then I think this is another important part here. It's not about text prompting or generating something from nothing, Affleck said about Interpositive's approach in a video that Netflix shared with the acquisition announcement. AI, people mostly think of it as making something from nothing. I'm going to type something into a computer and it's going to give me a movie. That's not what this is. So I guess when you first saw this, what was your thoughts about this?
Yeah, so personally, I'm not like the biggest fan of of AI when it comes to like trying to use it for an entire movie. But with what Netflix is doing with this AI power tool is they're allowing it to be more as, a tool, like using the AI, the right way. Okay. And I think that's what they should do. I wouldn't say they should make all their movies fully AI generated. I think using it for like specific tools, like helping them out. Like, for example, I use chat. There's times where I'll use Chat GPT for work. And just using it for specific things to help out filmmakers, but not try to like make a whole movie using AI in a way. I think with what Netflix is doing is that they're at least having like a balance for this AI. But, unlike with another company that we're gonna get into here in a minute, that they're trying to make fully AI generated films. And that's what, I don't think they should be doing. But with what
Yeah,
Netflix is doing, and not
go
only
on.
with that, um, you got Ben Affleck involved in that part, and Ben seems to be, really rocking out with Netflix as well. But with what Netflix is doing with this AI thing, hey, it's pretty cool. I definitely think it'll work out. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I do want to kind of clarify an important difference because I know we just promoted a movie that is fully AI 100%. I do want to kind of clarify this important distinction though. Zodwriter is a person of one. He is doing this movie all on his own, whereas a studio would be cutting thousands of jobs. So I do want to I want to clarify that little distinction right there. You know, we're still excited for One Punch Man, but I don't want that to become the general norm for all of these major studios, though, because I still want to be able to see movies with like real people in it too. And what's up, Sin Havoc?
Hey, so
Thanks for
Havoc, what's up?
stopping
Oh,
by. Yeah,
I'm sorry about that, man.
about what?
Oh, I thought I cut you out. My bad.
Oh, no. You're fine. You're fine. I was just saying hi. Yeah, well, Sin Havoc, you said not to be worried about Paramount, so we'll talk about that though. We'll talk about that though soon. But back to my train of thought. But yeah, so basically, I still want to be able to have like movies out there with real people, with real actors in it. I should say. Say it like that. Like, yes, that's what I want to see in still be in Hollywood. And I don't like AI either. Okay. I think I'm not the big fan of it. Again, with One Punch Man, my thing is it's there whether I like it or not. So I don't mind a friend of mine using AI, but in general, I'm not. I worry about it in the bigger, larger world. I'll put it like that. That's a concern of mine. But despite that, though, the thing is, AI is here whether we like it or not. Okay. Well, we'll see how you're not worried. But we'll get into that later. But it's here whether we like it or not. And I like this because it's a tool. It's a tool that. But electricity hasn't been around since the dawn of time. So that doesn't really make sense. But anyways, it's a tool that's here whether we like it or not. So I'd rather we use it and have fun with it than dwell on it not being here. So I think this is a great expansion, and it's nice that it shows that Netflix is a good business. And we'll get into this whole why they turned down Warner Brothers for now. And it shows that they're good for business and they're working with our Batman. They are working with our Batman still. Our Batman still has a creative partnership with Netflix, and this is going to become key in some later discussions. But I wanted to shout this out. So now Paramount wins the bid. And I'm going to start off this one because I'm going to start this one off with a story. So here I was, Thursday night, my last night at the parks. I was leaving Universal Studios. And, for Universal, as you know, I said, before I leave, I'm logging off Twitter. I don't want to see any news. I told Skywalker, do not text me if this deal falls through, which I said as a joke, not thinking that was actually going to be the case. But I was like, do not text me. I want to get my mind off all this stuff, all this drama related to it. I don't want to know about it. But then I was leaving Universal. It was my last night at the parks. I was leaving the parks for the last time. I was uploading a photo to Facebook because I was doing a little Facebook album to commemorate the trip. And then as I'm uploading the photo to Facebook, I see this news. Netflix walks away, backs out. Because I saw earlier that Paramount raised their bid. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll worry about that when I get back. I'm sure Netflix will match the bid. Nope. Netflix backed out. That's what I read when I'm on vacation. The time that I was supposed to step away from everything, and I want to emphasize I was not looking for it. I just happened to see it. So, yeah. But it wasn't being used, though. So, no, it is depressing, Sin Havoc. I had one vacation. I just want to step away from everything. I couldn't do that. But thank you, Jamar. I'm glad you're empathetic, at least. But anyway, so yes, that's how I found out about this whole thing on my vacation, not even looking for it. And that's how my Universal portion of the vacation ended, finding out this news right here. But I still had a great vacation, other than that end part of it. But yeah, I mean, just, I guess, what was your thoughts, TheCurlyRay, when you found out about this? And just initial thoughts. We'll get into more of a deep dive discussion later on.
I was actually pretty shocked, to be honest with you, man. I really did not think this was going to happen. I really didn't.
Yeah, neither did I. I mean, we thought, okay, if Paramount gets a bid that's higher that the board accepts, then Netflix can just match it, and then it's not going to work. I thought that they would get their final bid, and then Warner Brothers would say no, and then we'd be done with this whole silly mess. But nope, it just got worse. So yeah, Sin Havoc. But
Yeah,
anyways,
this is
we'll
oh, what's up?
go on.
Yeah, so when I saw this news, other than just being shocked by it, I also just was thinking about it, just thinking how strange it was. Because, I really, I just feel like, I know we're going to get to this here in a minute, but I was like, how in the world did they get this? Because Paramount is going in is like so much debt right now, and they just merged with Skydance like last year.
Oh yeah, yeah, Sin Havoc. Weren't you saying that Paramount cannot legally merge because they just merged with Skydance? But yep, no. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. We will get into that, Sin Havoc. We will get into that. But we're just kind of talking about the general thoughts as of this moment. We'll get into the details, the nitty-gritty of all this stuff very soon. But yeah, it was definitely shocking all around. And I think our big argument, though, was even if Paramount does get a bid, Netflix can do another bid. And let me just make sure I find this. But it's about why Netflix backed out, because I feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding about why Netflix backed out. And people think that oh, okay, fair enough, Sin Havoc, fair enough. I don't want to go too far into that, but I'm not going to deny that politics is involved in this. So I do want to bring up a very important point, because I feel like there is a lot of confusion about why Netflix actually backed out. Netflix didn't lose interest in Warner Brothers. This is what Ted Sarandos says right here. The transaction we negotiated would have created a shareholder value with a clear path to regulatory approval. Netflix co-CEOs Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters said in a joint statement issued Thursday, less than 2 hours after Warner Brothers Discovery revealed its board decision. However, we've always been disciplined, and at the price required to match Paramount's Skydance offer, the deal is no longer financially attractive. So we are declining to match Paramount's Skydance bid. We are declining to match Paramount's Skydance bid. This is exactly the point right here. Netflix never lost interest in Warner Brothers. They had a certain amount they were willing to pay for it. And they are here. I'm going to let you say something to TheCurlyRay, but I want to give this big difference between Netflix and David Ellison. Netflix is about business. David Ellison is about ego. David Ellison wanted Warner Brothers no matter what. It wasn't about business at a certain point. It was about ego. Taking out massive loans to pay for this just to say, I got Warner Brothers. Netflix, while they wanted Warner Brothers, they knew there's a certain amount that they think Warner Brothers is worth, and Warner Brothers just isn't worth that much. They could have easily matched David Ellison's offer. Absolutely. They could have said, fine, we'll buy, we'll do, $40 a share. We'll do that. And then, they could have just sold off the assets they didn't want. They could have just bought it all, maybe just sold the assets they don't want. Yeah. And that's another great point, too. Exactly. Netflix wanted the streaming and studios assets, whereas Paramount wanted everything, which is going to come into play later on. And what up, Austin? Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, what's up, you're awesome.
But I guess TheCurlyRay, what's your thoughts with Netflix backing out?
Well, one of the things I thought about is when they turned down this bid, I really didn't see this as, that they were just going to quit completely. Because maybe, and this is a me thing, I think maybe they didn't want to, pay for, a very high price, for these companies and all that. Maybe they didn't want to, keep on stacking bids and prices and all that. So maybe that's why they backed out. But not to say they didn't quit, but they just didn't want to put in a bid, kind of like what you were talking about. And my theory is, this is my opinion, because we know the companies are splitting into two companies, I think.
That's canceled right now. I think that for now is suspended because of this Paramount acquisition.
Yeah, it's just like, I think that, with this merger thing, let's just say, I know we're going to get into a bit here, but let's just say if, it doesn't go through, Netflix could just literally buy the studio side because they don't want the cable networks.
Yeah,
So,
and we'll that will be a topic later on. So hold on to that though.
I will.
But yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, Netflix, they had a business for what they wanted. They had a plan and they had a price point. Netflix isn't going to spend more money just to win, for an ego trip. Okay? That's really what this was. They were thinking business. Warner Brothers wasn't worth enough for that business. And I'll just say I do have a theory that Netflix is playing a little chess here. We'll get into this a little bit later. I'm just saying I don't think Netflix is done trying to get Warner Brothers. I don't think that. I think there is still some moves at play happening here that we don't know about. And we'll talk more about that later. But yep, in fact, Curly Ray, and I were talking about this on my pre-vacation stream. We even had, there's even that talked about that little Cartoon Network ad that appeared on Nickelodeon. So
yeah.
So but now, what does this mean for the industry? So now, for all intents and purposes of this conversation, for this right here, we're just going to talk about this like this deal is going through. We're just going to, for this purpose, all intents and purpose, say this is a done deal. Right here. Just right here for this point, okay? Curly Ray, what is your thoughts on this? What does this mean for the industry?
Man, I know people are going to be losing a lot of jobs since this is going through. And I just, even for what they're trying to do with AI movies and all that, it's ridiculous, in my opinion. And it's gone up to a point where it's no surprise to me why Netflix is still even though they're like a tech company, they're dominating with their content because these legacy corporations, bro, they're literally dying right now. It's crazy. And what I'm worried too, bro, and I'm gonna say this too, because I'm really worried about some of the people that are over there right now, like Pam Dabney, Mike DeLuca. But hey, also maybe if they still are gonna work there, hey, maybe they'll work for Netflix. But I just don't think this is a good sign. It's just more slop. And there definitely needs to be a change when it comes to movie, experiences, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And see, this is like my big issue too. People kept talking about Netflix. Oh my God, monopoly, bad for theaters. Here's the thing though. Netflix is trying to get into theaters. Okay. They wanted to expand. They were not a major theatrical studio. Paramount was. So now, so before 2019, you had Warner Brothers, you had Disney, you had Paramount, you had Universal, you had Fox, you had MGM, you had Sony. Am I missing anyone?
Lionsgate.
Lionsgate, yeah. Okay, you had them. 2019, the Paramount or the Disney Fox merger or acquisition close, whatever you want to call it. So I don't remember which finger I put Fox on, so I'm just going to I know this one was Lionsgate, but I'm just going to take this one down. So now you have 7 theatrical studios. And and just for the sake of this, I don't think Lionsgate is really that big. I don't think MGM is really that big. So we'll take those down too. So now it's just 5 at this point. Okay, 5 major studios. Now Warner Brothers and Paramount under one. Now you have 4 major theatrical studios out there. That's one less major theatrical studio out there. That is less competition. And not only that, Paramount and HBO Max, they're going to become one service. That has been confirmed. Unlike Netflix, who they said they were going to keep HBO Max separate, I don't know if that was going to last, actually. I personally don't think it was going to last. But as it stood at that point, Netflix and HBO Max were going to be two separate services. Paramount and HBO Max going to become one. And I read somewhere, I couldn't find the link to this article, that Paramount Plus is going to be the alpha service, which sucks. Paramount Plus's interface is horrible. I'm just saying, if you're going to do that, make it HBO Max. Keep HBO Max and dump Paramount Plus, because Paramount Plus is shit. It is the worst streaming app on the planet. It's impossible to watch anything. But now, yeah, that's what I'm. Yes, Jamar, that's what I'm saying. That's a problem. That's an issue. So now Paramount Plus is going to be that shitty streaming service app that is now going to hold both Warner Brothers and Paramount content hostage, unless they license out to other platforms, which they do already. But still, that's less competition in theaters, and that's less competition with streaming. So that's not good for the industry. Jobs are going to be lost. And I know Sin Havoc is saying like 100 billion. I'm just going to go with the 79 billion that's reported out there. And I can agree with this. Yes. Like I do think Netflix and HBO Max would have merged, but studios, that's a problem. But lost my train of thought right here. Just lost my train of thought right here. Oh, the debt. Right. That's major debt right now. So that's not going to be good for either of those two companies. So this is not good, guys, for the industry. This is terrible for the industry. We lost a lot of competition. People were so concerned about physical media. People were so concerned about theaters. This is what was bad for that. Because to other people complain about physical media, be honest with me. How many of you actually have bought physical media recently on an active basis? Okay? Like, Curly Ray, how often do you buy physical media?
To be honest, not really, bro, because, like, for one, it's pretty expensive. Now, I won't lie, I bought some physical media recently. I'm someone that maybe just, I to collect physical media sometimes. But I'll be honest with you, bro. If I just want to watch something, I just turn it on Netflix or, excuse me, any part. I just stream it.
Yeah, same here. Like, I'll be honest, I own the Snyder Cut on physical media. I don't think I've ever watched it on physical media, though, because it just, to me, it's never more convenient to watch it on physical media than it is to just watch it on digital. Now, granted, I still like to have physical media for movies like the Snyder Cut and Batman v Superman and all that. I still like having that physical media in my collection and having it if, let's say, my internet's bad. It's good to have it. Or if, streaming services do something stupid, like have Lilo hide in a pizza box that's in the laundry room for some reason. That Lilo and Stitch edit still does not make sense to me. I don't know, like... Anyways, so there are benefits to physical media. There are lots of benefits to physical media. But me, I get physical media more as insurance than I do as my preferred watching method. So I do think physical media is important, but my main point is trying to hype physical media when you don't even buy it that much. That's just like, no, guys. But Netflix was doing it. I have seen physical media by Netflix. I've seen Stranger Things on DVD in the stores. Okay. I've seen that. So yeah, exactly. So, but here's the thing too. A lot of these other these movie studios were doing the exact same thing. During COVID, HBO Max did the day and date release. Disney Plus, same thing. So let's stop putting all this stuff on Netflix, guys. So this was not good for the industry, guys. Okay, this like I didn't want to like. We'll talk about like Snyder and Gunny pretty soon, but in terms of just the industry in general, this is bad. This is really bad for the industry. This is going to hurt competition, and we better pray that this. But we better, we've already kind of explored our thoughts on that. So we better pray this deal does not go through. But if this deal does go through, it's not good, guys. It's not good. I mean, honestly, I think the Disney Fox one was really not great for the industry either, in hindsight. So, anything else you want to say about this before we move on?
I'm good, man.
Okay. Now, what does this mean for Gunny Poo? James Gunn. Curly Ray, I'm going to start with you. What do you think this means for James Gunn?
Yo, Paramount's gonna be keeping him because they literally promoted his Superman movie on their, WBD and Paramount merger news.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember that. I know. Mm-hmm. Yep. Unlike Netflix.
Bro, Netflix was literally promoting Zack Snyder's DC movies on their platform. Like, this whole Paramount thing is just really, really weird. Because what I also find weird too is like, people who are cheering on this whole thing. And what I mean by cheering on, I mean like Snyder fans. And then all of a sudden you got people like Gun Chills talking about how, oh, they're going to end James Gunn's CCU. This is not good. All of this is literally to get people on the freaking Paramount train. That's 100% what it is. Because they literally want you to fall for it. And it's crazy. Like, I'll put it, for example, with this new, with that terrible, awful, bastardized Lanterns trailer that came out. You got some of these people, trying to play as, the wolf in sheep's clothing and acting like, hey, we should have just had Snyder, or, this is awful, what's Gunn doing? They are literally trying to they're trying to convince people and try to motivate them to be hyped for this Paramount thing. That's 100% what it is. Because they know that Paramount's going to keep Gunn. Like, they literally, and what's weird is you got some of these larger Snyder cuts talking about, oh well, they're promoting the Snyder cut when the WBD merger was happening. I'm like, well, that's because of Pant Abdi and Mike DeLuca. But until James Gunn came in, and then all of a sudden, when this Paramount thing comes in, promoting nothing but James Gunn's DCU. You're talking about, oh, it's okay, yeah, Walter Hamada's there, but what matter? He's a horror thing. I'm like, or he's for like horror, films, and I'm just like, well, what if he gets promoted to a D? What happens? Because here's the other thing too. I've been seeing, you got some people that have been coming out and saying that James Gunn may not keep his job. And here's my theory, because I remember Sky and Leon were talking about this. So, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin Feige's stepping down as the head of Marvel Studios.
Really? I haven't followed that too closely lately.
I heard about it. I don't know if it's still going through or not, but here's what I wanted to kind of break down. So, you would have, James Gunn. Let's just say if he does get fired. And then all of a sudden he gets hired back at Marvel. And then Kevin Feige was, I think, to run Lucasfilm. And then you would have freaking Peter Safran and Walter Hamada run DC Studios to try to get them to make this crossover happen. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going on. So, try get you guys to be on this Paramount train. They're studio plans. All of them are.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a distinction I do want to bring on later on, and we'll talk about that when we get to Zack Snyder. But as for me, I don't know, honestly, if this is good for Gunny Poo or not. I've thought about this. I've thought about what you've said. I thought about what I've heard other people say. The reality is, in terms of Paramount promoting Gunny Poo stuff, to me, that's just the current Superman out there, so that's why they're promoting it. They don't want to. I think here's my opinion where Gunny Poo's fate is left up to. I think it depends if Supergirl and Lobo are a success, or Supergirl and Clayface, and like I think his job depends on how these next DCU movies play out. In my opinion, I think if they do well, in their eyes, he'll stay. If not, he's out, and they're going to do their own thing. That's absolutely what I think is going to happen. Should this go through? Oh, okay, Sin Havoc. Thank you. I do agree. I do think he won't have as much pull because at the end of the day, he was Zazoff's hire, not Ellison's hire. So I do think with any kind of merger and acquisition, the head guys, they do their own thing. So I think Gunny Poo's fate really is left up in the air, honestly. I think it could go either way. He might stay because they did promote his stuff, but it's also the current stuff. So I think if Supergirl fails, he's gone. Like there is no coming back for him. That's just my opinion. And without getting too far into this, I think there's some political, ideological clashing, but I don't want to touch that too much. But I do want to acknowledge that it is a possibility to his future. So nothing is guaranteed right now. And yep. Yeah, no, I'm sure Zazoff stole a bunch of stock already. I think he's getting his retirement package is what I think is happening. But yeah, I think Gunny Poo, in my opinion, I think this is his best option to stay, other than I guess if Disney bought it. But I don't think it's guaranteed either. So we'll see. We will see. You know, with Netflix, there's no chance of him staying. With this, I think it just depends on the movies. Now, I want to kind of clarify something here, because you were saying, like, talking about the studio plans, the people hyping up Paramount. I agree to a point. I think the people who were saying who wanted Paramount before this went through, I'm kind of looking at them funny, honestly, because Netflix is the only company who has showed open support for Zack Snyder as of recently. But I do understand there's some accounts right now that are hyping up Paramount because because they are the ones who are getting Warner Brothers as it stands right now. That I understand. But the first thing, I agree with you. But before we get too far into this, I know Sin Havoc. I know there's a lot of political stuff in it, but I try to be careful how I cover it on my channel is all. That's all I'm saying. So I do want to kind of show some stuff though, because this is where we're going to kind of do a little Zack Snyder's picture segment. So here we are. This was the last photo he posted before the deal fell over. Henry Cavill Superman. And then after that, Sucker Punch. This was, I think, after this went through.
It was right after it went through.
Right after? Okay, yeah. So you might have already planned it. So, and now he had an interview. I do need to see this interview, though. So, but this was already scheduled. Some nice shots of the white Polaroid of the new movie. Zack Snyder's birthday photos. Happy belated birthday, Zack Snyder. And now this is interesting. A Watchmen photo. Another Watchmen photo. Another Watchmen photo. And another Watchmen photo. Which is interesting because Paramount worked on Watchmen. So I do find it interesting that when Paramount, when this went through, Zack Snyder promoted the one film he did with Paramount. I guess what's your thoughts on this all, Curly Ray?
to be honest with you, I kind of have a different view of it and different perspective. So,
Hold up a second. Just want to say, what up, Bat Channel? Thanks for stopping by. Congrats on 4K subscribers.
hey, shout out to the Bat Channel. Shout out to Trey.
And Trey, don't forget, the new Netflix dinosaur documentary is out. Okay, I'm sorry. I just had to say a quick hi to Trey. But go on. Go on with what you were going to say.
Yeah, so I do have a different perspective on it. What you're saying, because you were talking about how, Zack is posting making Watchmen posts because of the Paramount thing. I actually have a different perspective on that. So that Sucker Punch post that he made right after this Paramount deal went through, if you look at the music that he used for it, and that song was playing, it was like, lay me to sleep, lay me to sleep, I'm tired, and all, that part of the song, basically. Then after that, he makes another post, with that whole picture landscape, basically. Then, he posts his birthday. Yeah, Sucker Punch. So, it is, and the fact that he hasn't posted any SnyderVerse posts ever since this deal went through shows you that it's like you're connecting the dots.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember what Zack said? If Netflix owned the rights to his characters, he would do it. But ever since this Paramount thing happened, he hasn't posted any news. And also, something I want to point out too, because I don't know if you saw it. Larry Fong has been liking some of my tweets on Twitter talking about how, I was, so I made a post talking about how Larry Fong was posting this BVS post on his story, and he liked it. Then I quoted that post saying, "Thank you for the support, Larry Fong." He liked that as well, and he liked that post after this Paramount thing went through, and that had the ZS Shield on Netflix and SnyderVerse on Netflix hashtags. Okay, then Leon made a post when it came to him liking that post I did. He then, I quoted Leon, and I said, Larry Fong knows what's up. And Larry Fong liked that post. And even had the ZS jailed and Netflix and SnyderVerse on Netflix hashtags. So it's very clear to me. And what up, Josh Herrera? I hope you're doing wonderful,
What up,
man.
Josh?
So it's
go on.
it's very clear to me. And something else too, because I want to talk about even with the Watchmen post that he did recently. So today's the anniversary of Watchmen. He was talking about how, which version of Watchmen do you watch? Oh, did I miss something?
You brought up a good. No. I was snapping because you made a good point.
Okay, yeah. So with the Watchmen thing, he was talking about which version of Watchmen you want to watch or decide that. So you remember back in November when Zack Snyder was telling everyone to turn on HBO Max to turn on Zack Snyder's Justice League Justice is Great Edition?
Yes.
So he didn't do that for Watchmen. And here's what I'm getting to. The reason that Zack told everyone to watch Justice is Great was because Netflix was getting analytical data from the people that were watching it. But then after this Paramount thing, Zack ain't telling people to go on HBO Max and watch Watchmen because if this Netflix deal was going through, you probably think he would do it to like see how much views it would get or what the analytics data would be because Netflix had it right there. They know that Superman underperformed. They knew that Sinners was a success. So it's my like the when you connect the dots, it's clear as day. The only way that you know it's just my convincing that Zach's going to continue to be working with Netflix. And something else too, is I don't know. So he was on that uh on a Josh Hord's stream recently. Zack Snyder he had a bunch of Rebel Moon stuff in there in his office. I wouldn't say all of it. It wasn't all Rebel Moon. There were two weapons. There was like an axe on the wall. I don't know if that was something Rebel Moon, but he did have two guns. He had the Imperium assault rifle, like hanging. He was on his desk, and then there's another rifle, on the other side. It looked like one of those guns that the villagers had. And it's literally Netflix connections right there. And
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
oh yeah, 100. Oh yeah, 100% J Mar, man. Like that's facts, bro. And it's just really, really weird to see that. We would probably, if this Netflix deal was still going through, we would have probably gotten so much more SnyderVerse posts. But how is it that Zach hasn't been posting any SnyderVerse related content ever since his Paramount thing went through? And here's something else too. You had Ben Affleck, or one of the guys, I forgot the dude's name, but one of the guys recently who just designed like a Affleck costume is over at Netflix right now. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon has signed a multi-year contract with Netflix. Everyone who has been working with Zach is staying there right now. It's very clear as day that this Paramount thing ain't going to go through. And here's the thing as well. I don't even think Paramount would even have the funds to let Zack Snyder create the movie that he wants to create. While Netflix, on the other hand, they literally made him create this whole passion project that he's been wanting to create.
I'm really glad you brought up a lot of good points because a lot of people were saying Zack Snyder worked with Paramount. Zack Snyder worked with Paramount. And he's been posting Watchmen, but it's the Watchmen anniversary. That's why he's posting Watchmen. And I'm really glad you pointed that out. And there's something else you said I'm really glad you said. His lack of DC post. Now, granted, I think on Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it wasn't really a concern at that point because he's gone longer than that without posting DC. Fine. But I feel like by this point now, he's done another DC post. That's why on this stream, on this channel, I've always dedicated a section to Zack Snyder's DC post because he's been doing them, but he hasn't really done them. You are absolutely right. And this is my concern right now, is it possible that Paramount will want to bring back the SnyderVerse? Absolutely. It is possible. But you got Hamada and Safran at Paramount. You got Zack not posting DC lately. You got the debt angle. There's lots of reasons why this is not good for getting the SnyderVerse. This is not good if you want to see more of Zack Snyder's work. I think the best we're going to get from Zack Snyder from Paramount is what he said. Dark Knight Returns. I think we'll get that. That's absolutely possible. But other than that, I don't think this really is great for Zack Snyder. I think even if Paramount, that's a good point, Trey. I'm actually glad you brought that up. So he does have that. So there is some positive too, but there's still the debt angle. There's still it may not be enough to get it. Just I think it's like Gun. It could really go either way, honestly. But I don't think it's like the guarantee that it was with Netflix. That's my opinion, anyways. And it's sorry, gotta get a drink of water real quick. So I don't really think this is great for Zack Snyder, honestly. I really don't. I mean, now if this Brawler thing becomes a hit, absolutely. But that has to come out first. That has to become a success first. And Paramount might be wanting to make a decision about DC before then. So that's why I think TJ saying The Dark Knight Returns makes more sense, because that's still years away. That's a standalone thing. And that one doesn't need the same actors, whereas this one does. So I agree. Paramount has not shown anything saying they would. The only studio to do that is Netflix. So that's why I agree. Everything is left up to chance right now. Everything is absolutely left up to chance right now. And it sucks. It really, like, this is not really great for Snyder fans. And again, I want to make this clear. I understand there's people who are fighting for Paramount now because Paramount is going to own Warner Brothers as it stands right now. That I understand. But saying that this was the best outcome for Zack Snyder, that's ludicrous. That was Netflix, 100% Netflix, not this. So I can respect you if you want to fight for Paramount now that Paramount actually has Warner Brothers or will have Warner Brothers as it stands up today. But that could change. We'll talk about that next. But this was not the best outcome for Zack Snyder. And I don't want to spoil this too much yet, because we'll talk about this. I don't think Restore with Paramount's the way to go. That's all I'm going to say. Restore with Paramount's not the way to go. And yep, exactly. So now, exactly. We know Brawler's a single project, but I think what Trey's saying, if that's success, Paramount might want to do more work with Zack Snyder. I think that was Trey's point. But now here's the thing. Now here's the big thing, though. We keep talking about, oh my God, Paramount's going to get this. It's not a done deal yet, guys. People were saying the same thing about Netflix, so now it's Paramount's turn to say this for. It's not a done deal. Netflix was a done deal, and look what happened. So there's an article that came out today that I want to go over. So hold on a second. So coalition of public interest groups call for state attorneys general to challenge Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery merger. So a coalition of interest groups are calling on the state's attorney general to try and block Paramount's proposed acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery, claiming that it will increase consolidation to the point that it violates antitrust law. This letter, led by the Center for American Progress Action Fund, is aimed at the California Attorney General, Rob Bonta, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and other state attorney generals. Bonta already said he would closely scrutinize the proposed transaction and told Deadline that there has been interest from other states as well. The letter emphasizes the horizontal nature, as the combination will reduce the number of major film studios from 5 to 4. So I guess they were thinking the same thing I was when I was talking about major film studios. The groups claim that it would create a more concentrated market following Walt Disney's purchase of most of 20th Century Fox assets. So yes, exactly. And I agree completely. But this is a point right here. This still has to get approved by multiple parties. Okay, it's not just the federal government that approves this. There's the European Union. There's all sorts, I think it's called the European Union market. There's all sorts of other avenues that need to approve this deal. I mean, realistically speaking, it's a monopoly, so it shouldn't get approved. But I do know, realistically speaking, that if if certain parties are paid, that gets overlooked. I'm not, so I don't know. I mean, this deal could. I mean, that's one aspect that could collapse this deal, is that this has to get approved, and it may get approved and it may not. I think if it's being done honestly. Okay, so here's the confusion about that, Sin Havoc. I typed this in Grok, and Grok was like, is that how you pronounce the Twitter's AI, Grok?
I think it's Grok.
Grok? So I want to show something right here, because this is really, so again, this is Twitter AI, so it's not always going to be accurate, because I was curious about this, so. Okay, here's what I'm talking about right here. So, yep, and that's another good point too. But I want to share this. So, I asked, what exactly is the shareholder vote for March 20th? And Grok said, Warner Brothers Discovery is holding a special shareholder meeting on March 20th. Shareholders vote on approving this proposed agreement by. Oh, okay. Have unanimously recommend voting for and rejecting Paramount Skydance. Huh. Put something else on there where they were saying the vote was canceled. Okay, so I guess the shareholder vote's still happening then. So I'm sorry, I was trying to find that. So, but yeah, I mean that's the other thing too. The shareholders still have to vote on this, guys. The board approved of this, but the shareholders still have to approve of it too, and the shareholders may not want to approve it for various reasons. So, I mean, there's lots of things at play here. I guess, TheCurlyRay, what's your thoughts? Like, do you think this deal could collapse? And are there any factors that you want to add or anything you want to emphasize on or piggyback on?
So, I really do not think this. I'm really praying this deal doesn't go through. I will say that. Not only that, but I really don't think it'll go through either, because you look at it this way, they're in such debt right now. And from what I heard, I think Europe may block it. And it's a monopoly. It's going to cause a lot of lost jobs or job loss. And I think they're going to look at that and they're going to see it as a bad thing. So this isn't a done deal. I really don't think it's going to go through. But that's just my opinion. And if it doesn't go through, then that may be a possibility that Netflix may end up buying the studio.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, plus also keep in mind, Sin Havoc said Asian markets, kind of certain parts of the world will say Ellison was getting money from certain parts of the world, and with certain recent events happening, Ellison may no longer be able to get those funds. We'll say it like that, because again, I try to not get too political on the channel, but that is a possibility that could affect this. So yeah, I mean, there's that too, and plus, I'm really glad you said that. Monopoly. And here's another point I want to make too. From everything I've read, from everything in my understanding, the rumors about what our government wants, the main focus is CNN in this. Netflix never wanted that. So another way, because sometimes these things have to get approved by selling off assets. So let's say they don't really want, let's say that David Ellison really cares about CNN. Maybe he might have to buy, pay a little extra money to get this to go through. I'm not accusing him of doing that. I'm just being realistic. That's a possibility. But maybe if he really only wants CNN, maybe sell off certain assets like Warner Brothers Pictures, HBO Max, DC/DC Studios, certain of some of those assets, maybe what was going to be in the streaming and studios, you could just sell that off to another company. And then, you can still get your CNN. You can still get CNN if that's the main thing you really wanted, but then sell off what would be the streaming and studio assets to, let's say, Netflix. You have to renegotiate the deal because it's no longer the same company that you wanted to sell, that you were going to sell. But if that's what he really wants at the end of the day, it's choose your battles, right? And if he's able to get CNN without too much hassle, that may be the avenue he wants to go with anyways. So I think our point is this is not a done deal. There's a lot of things that could happen. The shareholders can vote against it. This could be blocked. This could be approved if he sells off certain assets, like the ones we mainly care about, to another company, like, let's say, Netflix. There's a lot of stuff that can happen here, guys. Okay, this is not a done deal. Not by far. And again, the debt. Okay, he's getting a lot of loans. And if he's not able to get that money, I mean, he had to take out loans to get this. And if he can't get the money for those loans, it ain't happening. And let's just say that could also block loans too. So let's just say if certain governments aren't approved of where certain money's coming from, that can also block the deal too. Just pointing that out too. So there's lots of things that can happen. So does Netflix still have a chance? So I'm going to let Curly Ray speak, but I do want to say my little theory because I kind of alluded to this earlier. I think that Netflix still wants Warner Brothers. Again, I think Netflix knows that this deal likely won't go through. Why raise the bid when you can instead decide, you know what, let's just see how this plays out. And if this falls over, you know what, we're going to go back to our original price. And if anything, we have more negotiating power because now the bigger offer fell through and now you're desperate to sell. Netflix never wants to appear desperate. Okay, they said they weren't interested before. They bought Warner Brothers. They backed away because it's too much money. But if it falls for a cheaper price, Netflix may get it and even get a better deal than what they were going to get it for beforehand because now they have more negotiating power again. So, Curly Ray, does Netflix still have a chance, you think?
I think they do, bro. I think that, like you said, man, like I really think Netflix would not back down this easy. I feel like they're just waiting to see how this is going to turn out to be. Because even if it does go through or not, like, it's obvious that Paramount is going to still license content over to Netflix. Because they are in so much debt right now. And they will continue licensing and licensing and licensing. But I do think if this deal does not work out and go through, Netflix is going to come back and they're going to buy the studio assets when the split happens. So I think when it comes down to this whole thing, I'm going to wait for the split to happen, and I'm just going to see what happens. Because
I don't know if this.
What's up?
I don't know if the split's. I think the split is off the table for now because of this Paramount acquisition.
Okay, well, if the Paramount thing doesn't go through, I think Netflix will come back to maybe possibly buy WBD. Maybe not all of it, but I just think. What's up?
I do want to kind of clarify because my point a little bit more with that is that I know I was talking about selling the streaming and studio assets. I'm just saying if they have to do that to get the deal approved. But the split as it stands right now is not happening. But anyway, go on.
But yeah, man, I think I'm on what you're saying, bro. I think they're playing chess right now to see how this goes through, and if it doesn't go through, then I think Netflix will come back and just pay for your price because I really don't think Netflix would want to pay a whole lot of money for this whole thing. So that's why I think they're going to do.
Exactly. Because again, this is the important part. Netflix never lost interest in Warner Brothers. They had an amount they were willing to pay for it, and the price went up above that point. It's like, let's say I'm planning, we'll use Universal because I just got back from Universal. Let's say I'm planning on Universal vacation for myself. And guys, I'm just making up numbers here. these are not the actual ticket prices because I'm not going to say those publicly. But let's say I had a budget of $1,000. Let's just say $1,000, and I can go to the parks. And that's my plan. I love it. I'm excited to go. So let's do it. But then all of a sudden the price increases to $2,000. I might, it's not that I lost interest in Universal. That just went above my budget. So I'm going to walk away. But if, let's say, the budget fell down to $1,000 again, I'm going to be interested in going to Universal. That interest didn't go away. It just went above my budget, but now it's within my budget. And that's simply what this is. Netflix wants to have the higher negotiating power at the end of the day. They have a budget, and they don't want to be desperate. Unlike David Ellison. That's the thing. Netflix played it cool. David Ellison played it desperate. That's why Ellison's paying like $33 for a share. So Netflix absolutely has a chance, guys. Netflix absolutely has a chance. So we're still going to fight for this, guys. We're still, we got to keep our fingers crossed. As it stands right now, Paramount's going to get Warner Brothers. But there's a lot of stuff that can change between now and then. The deal has to go through. And again, Paramount may just sell off some assets like Warner Brothers and DC and HBO Max to Netflix to say, okay, fine. Here we go. We're going to sell these assets off there. Now it's less of a monopoly. So a lot can happen, guys. A lot can happen between now and when that deal closes. I think it was Necron who said until that ink is dry, anything can happen. So what is the best way to fight for the Snyderverse going forward? So I want to give a little history lesson to how the Cell campaign started with Skywalker the Jedi. This was back in early 2023 when he publicly announced this campaign. We were all upset that Henry Cavill's Superman Henry Cavill was not returning as Superman, and that Gunny was going this whole reboot thing, and that they didn't want to do Warner Brothers. And then Sky came up with this idea. Sell ZSJL to Netflix, sell Snyderverse to Netflix. Well, technically the sell Snyderverse to Netflix hashtag, I think, came the next day. But the point is, Sky had this great plan to license off content, to take advantage of Warner Brothers' debt and Netflix interest in the Snyderverse, for Netflix to get licensing rights to do ZSJL 2 and 3. Warner Brothers had a lot of debt, and now Netflix was the only company showing interest in Zack Snyder. This has not changed as of right now at this point. It went a little back and forth, but here's the thing. And again, obviously the campaign evolves. When Netflix bought Warner Brothers, the campaign evolved, obviously, because now Netflix owns the entirety of Warner Brothers. So things were different, right? But now we're kind of back to where we were before that, is that because as Sky said, we don't know what another company is going to do. We don't want to give Warner Brothers the engagement until we get the Snyderverse. We don't want to do that. So to me, that doesn't change. That doesn't change at all, because Paramount and Warner Brothers together will be $79 billion in debt. Okay, $79 billion. They're going to want to license off content. So, as far as I'm concerned, now I want to clarify. I have not spoken to Skywalker. I have not spoken to Leon about this. So, they might do a stream tonight right after this, and they'll give exact instructions on what to do. So I don't want to give exact instructions. That's up to, they are the leaders of the Cell campaign. They will, if we're going to go back to the Cell hashtags or just still say ZSJL on Netflix, Snyderverse on Netflix. That's up to them. But as far as what I'm saying, what Batdan's thoughts right here, then TheCurlyRay can give his thoughts right after this, is that when Sky's campaign started, Warner Brothers was likely to get sold. They weren't going to go forward with Snyderverse, and they were in massive debt. Right now, we don't know that Paramount's going to do anything with Snyder. They're in massive debt right now. So something like this is actually smart. So something like this is actually still a good idea. Just because we lost, as it stands right now, just because we lost Warner Brothers being owned by Netflix for the moment. That could change. As it stands right now, still fight for Netflix, still fight for the licensing rights. Whatever Sky and Leon say to do for hashtags, we will do. But as far as I am concerned, Bat Dan's thoughts is that the Sell campaign is still alive and well, guys. Okay? It is still alive and well. We are still going to fight for Netflix, still fight for the licensing rights, because that's the best avenue right now. We don't know what Paramount's going to do. We don't want to give Warner Brothers engagement in the meantime. So, TheCurlyRay, what are your thoughts on all this?
I was going to say this, bro. I say we continue engaging with Netflix. And, not only, show engagement for Zack Snyder's DC work, but also represent Zack Snyder's other projects over at Netflix like Rebel Moon. And I think that's what we definitely need to do. Because let me tell you something. Like, I'm not going to mention any names, but, some of those people who were cheering on for Paramount were telling fans, Rebel Moon fans, to move on for Rebel Moon and all of Zack's Netflix projects, which is really weird. And, it's very crazy. And it's just telling me, bro, that when you look at it this way too, and it's like what I said before, you got all these shills talking about how, Paramount's going to get rid of James Gunn, the DCU and all that. And my thing is, there is a push to get people hyped up for this whole Paramount thing when they know good and well it's not going to work out. And they do not want people rocking out at the place where Zack Snyder's been able to create all of his passion projects like Rebel Moon and also The Last Photograph, which I believe is going to be on Netflix. There is no doubt that movie is going to be on Netflix. 100%. Because you see the writing on the wall. All of Zack's cast is literally over at Netflix right now. Ben Affleck signed a multi-year deal with Netflix. Larry Fong liking tweets of mine when it comes to, Zia show on Netflix and SnyderVerse on Netflix. Zack hadn't been posting SnyderVerse content ever since his Paramount thing went through. And even to the fact that Netflix Games has been, they've been looking at my comments on Instagram. They love what I be posting. So it is more convincing that no matter what happens, we still give Netflix the engagement. Because Netflix, I believe, is going to be the only way we're going to be able to see the return of the SnyderVerse. 100%.
Absolutely. Again, the Sell campaign was never about Netflix buying, was not relying on Netflix buying Warner Brothers as a whole. That was just an unexpected bonus. Just because that's not how it is right now does not mean the Sell campaign is done. The Sell campaign, I think, is alive more than ever. And as you said, Zack's cast is there. Netflix is engaging with Zack. The Sell campaign is still the way to go. The exact hashtags, whatever the exact way we're doing it, I will let Sky and Leon say that. But I'm just going to say, as far as we are both concerned, the Sell campaign is still alive and well. The Sell campaign is still active. Sell is still the way to go. And support Zack Snyder's work like Rebel Moon. So the fight still goes on, guys. The fight still goes on, and the fight is still with Netflix. We are still fighting alongside Netflix for Zack Snyder's work, for Zack Snyder's DC. So this is not over. Not by a long shot. So much stuff can happen. So whether this vote happens or not, the fight is still with Netflix as far as I'm concerned. So, as far as we're both concerned. So, this sucks what happened with Paramount. That this seems like Paramount's going to get this. But the fight still goes on. Sell is still the way, guys. The Sell campaign is still the way. Sky and Leon had a great idea And now essentially we're kind of back to the roots of the campaign. So lots of great stuff happening. There's still plenty of stuff to look forward to. This is definitely not fun that this happened, especially that it happened while I'm on my vacation. I'm still really pissed about that one. I know first world problems, but I am still pissed about that one. So, anyways, though, and yes, shout out to the idea of the Cell campaign. Shout out to Sky and Leon. They started the conversation. They got the Cell campaign. They got the idea of WBDC getting sold. They started this whole conversation of taking the engagement outside of Warner Brothers. So shout out to them.
Shout out to the cool table.
Shout out to the cool table. Absolutely. And now wrap up coming up. Curly Ray, final thoughts and anything you have coming up.
I may be having a stream coming up very soon. I'm not sure exactly when, but I do plan on doing another Rebel Moon stream on my Rebel Moon Theory channel. And something else too I want to announce. On the last week of March, I'm going to be on a vacation as well. I'm going to be gone for like a whole week, and I'm going to be off of social media. So the only thing I would, I may pop in a little bit sometimes, but if there's any Rebel Moon news, I mean, y'all can DM me, and I'll see that and be excited for it. But other than that, I'm gonna be off of social media. I just want to stay off of there for a while. And I mean, I might still be on. I might still be in the chat. Listen to some streams, but I want to take my vacation to stay off of social media as much as possible.
Absolutely. I mean, take it from me. That's a really good idea. So, absolutely. I enjoy your time, man. Enjoy your time. As someone who just got back from vacation, it's valuable time. So, absolutely enjoy it. But as for me, the fight's not over, guys. The fight's still going on. Whether Paramount gets this, whether the deal falls through, I say the fight is still with Netflix, fighting alongside Netflix. When I say the fight is with Netflix, you're fighting alongside Netflix to get the SnyderVerse. So there's a lot of good stuff happening, a lot of good stuff that we still got to look forward to, still show engagement with Netflix. And as for me coming up, I want to get back into the show Bat Dance Thoughts. I know the channel is Bat Dance Thoughts, but I want to get my show back, the original Bat Dance Thoughts show relaunch on my channel. And I have an idea that I may expand my coverage of stuff I talk about. Let's just say that. So be on the lookout for some stuff. That's all I'm going to say. But if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell for more unique takes, interesting thoughts, and great discussions such as these. And on that final note, any words, the Curly Ray?
Have a bat-tastic day.
Have a bat-tastic day.